you all know that I am very grateful to people for coming to this session. But I want to say, I had a lunch with Mike and several other people, Lily and others, a couple of days ago, and Mike said to me, what the hell is so special about you? Are you some sort of royalty? You've had all these special deals, you know, birthdays and who knows what all. And I said, well, I have one thing you don't have. I have J.G. Liu. J.G. Liu is my top student and a devoted person who has guided me through thick and thin here and elsewhere, especially in places like China, Taiwan. He can't keep his hands off me. He's helping me go here and there and one thing and another. I said, stop, come on, give me a break here. he's so devoted to me, it's wonderful. Louis, you're a number one amongst number one. But thank you all for coming here after this, well, pandemic haunted attempt 6 months ago. Now, finally, we got it on because of your perseverance. I would never have done it. I want to throw in the towel and say, screw it. Let's just have it on Zoom. But I also want to thank all of you for coming and the people who are, by the miracle of the internet, are doing it on Zoom, because you are the people that I care about the most. You are so-called students, faculty, and other associated people, but no, that's not right. We're all working on the problems together, crust and upper mantle, how it originated and how it's evolved with time. And we're like some sort of a band of brothers. That sounds trite, but it's true. We all study it because we're electrified by the subject and want to know the answer. And at the same time, we get to go out into nature and see the beauty of the natural environment while we're working. Not very many people get to try telling a chemist, see how they spend their time. We do our vacations the way, and they do their vacations the way we do our work as well as vacations. And it doesn't all have to be Patagonia. It's somewhere where we can see knock your socks off views. The question is, not that you would ask, but I'm asking myself, how did I come to this? When I started in Carleton College, in Dorothy, Minnesota, home of Cows College in Contentment, I asked myself, what should I do with my life? You know, I thought about this. Weird, but I did. And I said, you know what, I want to have a life of helping other people, something that enriches life. And I thought, well, you could be a minister, but I'm not religious. You could be a doctor, but I hate the sight of blood. Well, that pretty much leaves teaching as something that's altruistic, at least to some extent. I thought, that's what I'll do. I got to Carleton College, and I found that the president of the university was a very charismatic, knock your stocks off type speaker, Lawrence McKinley Gould, a geologist and second in command of Admiral Byrd's first visit to Antarctica. Whoa, an Arctic and Antarctic explorer, I want to be like him. Well, I didn't know much about geology except that you find most rocks in the field. So I thought this would be a good thing to do, get me up in the fresh air and all that stuff rather than a chemistry lab or something. So I decided I will become a geologist and go to Antarctica or some other exotic place. So I decided to do that, and I did that. And I love the science, and I love being a TA, which I was. And then I got to graduate school, and I had a very fierce professor there, Sam Goldick, who had a small man complex. I was bad because he knocked me around quite a lot to get me to do my thesis on the Indian sill, as you've heard tell. But anyway, it opened up the geophysical lab as a possibility of going there. And Sam wrote a very nice letter, even though he beat me severely over the head and shoulders. He wrote a very nice letter, and I got to go to Johns Hopkins in the geophysical lab. That opened other doors, including UCLA. So by 1960, I went to UCLA as a young assistant professor, beset by a number of really world-class scientist leaders, including 4 Nobel laureates. And I thought, I'm going to sit at the feet of these great people, and they will tell me all sorts of things about how to enrich my research and teaching jobs, and I will be the great beneficiary of all this. It didn't happen. I found, to my surprise, were far more interested in their work than in my work. At least they left me alone. So I persevered, and I got incredibly lucky. I was mucking around in the Franciscan. Not a very nice area, not a very nice part of the Franciscan, the central Diablo Range. John Wakabayashi can tell you song and verse about this sort of area. And it's sort of the tar baby. Once you get in there, it's hard to get yourself out alive. So I mucked around in that, but I got into mineralogy and one thing and another and saw some really good things. Began associating with other people, went to Japan, went to China, went to Europe. A couple of years spent in Europe, looking at the Alps, telling people, the locals, just how it happened. You can imagine the Swiss were not exactly enthralled to hear my plate tectonic description of their mountains that they had studied for 1,000 years. Anyway, I had a lot of associates and colleagues, like you guys. We're part of the same group. And I realized at a research mill like UCLA and later Stanford are places where I got more than I gave. I gave a lecture here recently, not recently, 10 years ago at Stanford, and a course on classical thermodynamics and petrology. And one of the students asked a question, and one of the lecturers, and I said, no. Well, I'll tell you, I'll get back to you a couple of days from now. I taught this course for 40 years, classical thermodynamics. It's well known since the 1860s or 70s or something. She was right. I was wrong. That's the kind of thing that you learn when you're a teacher. Gordon, it happens all the time, and you and I know it. Though I think that is a mean thing to do. I know you'll get back at me. But I can do that. I don't do that with students. What I used to do to students, if I saw one who was messing around, talking, let's say, to a beautiful lady sitting next to, girl sitting next to, a lady sitting next to, woman type person, something like that. Anyway, I would start talking to the person at UCLA or Stanford, 200 people in a classroom. I'd say, well, as you and I know, and they talk right at this guy, and all of a sudden, stop talking to the girl next to him and just disappear. The next day I wouldn't see him, way up in the corner of the classroom. He wasn't going to take a chance on Ernst giving him the old, as you and I well know, that shit, so to speak. Anyway, I've loved everything I've done teaching. I've taught 13 years after I retired in 2004. So I've taught for 58 years. That's beyond being a TA in undergraduate 2 years at Carleton, University of Minnesota, Johns Hopkins. So I love teaching, and I think it's really important to do. That is the thing that motivates me, but I don't think it's as altruistic as I thought, because when I see 200 pairs of eyes, beady eyes, looking at me, listening to what I'm saying, it's not like raising a family where your kids never listen to you. These kids are listening, most of them, if they aren't looking at their computer. Anyway, it was always a thrill to me, and I never, ever thought I pulled it off. I hoped someday one would say, students would say, yes, I get it, and they pick me up at the end of the lecture, carry me around the room on their shoulders. It never happened. I was always disappointed. But you know, I think that's the mark of a teacher, at least who wants to keep trying. You don't quite do it. But it's the most important thing we do here. Yes, the research, very important. And it's what keeps us having lunch every day. But the teaching is the thing that's fulfilling for it. I've had a fantastic career one of the benefits of that career is that you have friends and colleagues, or yes, you can call them students, you can call them professional colleagues, you can call them other associates, but they're basically your friends. And outside of my family, you guys are my friends. So as I close, I want to say one thing about both UCLA and Stanford, and that is because we did things that were new. A lot of places people do. But a place like a research mill, which is what Stanford and UCLA are, has to have a constant supply of them. I will just mention some of the things that I think we accomplished at UCLA and then at Stanford. I'm just going to listen. The ARL micro at UCLA, ARL microprobe, instant seminar, phased liquidus, mineral inquisitions, geochemistry and plate and peteometry, plate tectonics, Stanford, Kamika shrimp and uranium lead zircon dating, chain gang, earth systems, isotope geochemistry, global change, but now the big one, the really important thing that all humanity will have to face sooner or later is sustainable development. So it's our Earth, folks. We are the ones who can do this and need to do it. And if we don't do it, nobody will be able to do it because they don't know the Earth like we do. So we're in the greatest field there is, and we're under the greatest sort of inspiration for doing things like taking care of the next generation. The next generation can do better, hopefully, than what we do. I see my time is up, and several people have already nodded off completely. So I think I will bid you.
Not like you.
Huh?
Not like you.
I did not fall asleep. I really didn't. You think I fell asleep? No. Well, I got a little sleepy there for a while. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. You have made my day, in fact, my year. Thank you very much for your attendance both here and Zooming. I love you all. Oh, I know I was going to say one thing to you about the Chinese fortune. You think it has been a secret, but it never has been one. About this one, you didn't like that? Oh, I have one other thing I have to say. I'll give you this other, and then I'm going to say one other thing, and then I'll be done. One other thing before the last thing. Okay, no, not yet. The other one is, you will attend a party where strange customs prevail. I had a student who was working down in Chile, the Cordillera de la Costa, and I was naturally at the ETH at the same time that he was down there. Although I spent 3 weeks in the field with him at one point, well, anyway. And he was having a lot of trouble with his thesis and with his home life. And I wrote him back a letter and said, go on, Terry, it was going to work out just fine. And then I put a Chinese fortune on it. And I got another letter from him about 3 weeks later. This was in the days before Xeroxing. So he said, Gary, your letter was wonderful, but you know what? The Chinese fortune really went right to my heart. I have changed my whole attitude and outlook on life because of that. Thank you so much. And I said to myself, shit, what did I say? I'm master of the non sequitur. I say these things that don't have any meaning. Oh, you noticed? Anyway, I thought, dare I ask him? No. So I've never asked him. Terry Cato. No, I couldn't ask him. If you ever see him, you might ask him. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
And now, thanks everybody. I think we have cake in the back. So thanks everybody for coming here, and thanks to everybody on Zoom. See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.